In this lecture, we are going to derive the expression of binding energy of the nucleus, considering the nucleus to be similar to that of a liquid rock. So then we will put that expression of binding energy in this formula of the mass of the nucleus, and we will obtain the expression of the mass of nucleus, and that formula that we will arrive at, that will be called as the semi-empirical mass formula. So first of all, the binding energy of the nucleus, it was thought that the binding energy of the nucleus, it comes from the volume of the nucleus. So first is the volume binding energy. So this term, it was added to the binding energy of the nucleus. The neutrons and the protons, they are held together by a short range attractive forces which are called as the nuclear forces. These forces, they reduce the mass of the nucleus below that of its constituents. It reduces the mass of the nucleus below that of its constituents. That is, here we are talking about the mass defect concept. So they reduce the mass of the nucleus by an amount which is proportional to the number of the nucleons that are present. Now, in case of the nucleus, more the volume of the nucleus, more will be the nucleon bond will be present inside the nucleus. That is, if there is more volume, so more number of nucleon bond will be present. That is, more nuclear force will be present in that case, in case of a nucleus which is having larger volume as compared to a nucleus which is having smaller volume. So more the nuclear forces, more will be the binding energy, because we know that the nuclear forces, they are responsible for giving binding energy to the nucleus. So if larger the volume of the nucleus, larger number of nucleon bonds, that is, larger nuclear force will be there in that case, and hence there will be larger binding energy. So the volume of the nucleus, it contributes to the binding energy of the nucleus, and that binding energy is termed as volume binding energy. Now the BV, this is represented by BV, capital B, and in the subscript we write capital V. So this represents the volume binding energy. So this is proportional to the volume of the nucleus. Now more the number of nucleons that are present, more will be the volume of the nucleus. That is, volume of the nucleus, it is also proportional to the number of nucleons, that is capital A. So then we will remove the proportionality and we will get BV, it will be equal to a constant of proportionality times capital A. So in place of V, we can write capital A, because capital V, it is proportional to A. So we will get this expression. Now this volume binding energy, it also has another name which is just called as exchange energy. So this is the volume binding energy. Now if we consider the binding energy of the nucleus is equal to BV, simply it is equal to BV. But it was seen that the nucleons that are on the surface of the nucleus, now if you consider this central nucleon which is present at the center of the nucleus, so it is interacting with about 6 number of nucleons. For example, it is interacting with 6 number of nucleons which are present in its neighbor, but the nucleon which is present at the surface of the nucleus, it is interacting with only 3 number of nucleons. So the nucleons which are present nearer to the surface, they interact with few nucleons. So they will interact with less number of nucleons as compared to the nucleon which is present inside the volume. Hence this nucleon, it is bounded strongly inside the nucleus, whereas this nucleon at the surface of the nucleus, it is bounded weakly by the nucleus. So this particular term which we have got of binding energy, this is due to the volume. So we must be considering the binding energy which gets reduced due to the surface of the nucleus. Now this binding energy will get reduced. Why it will get reduced? Because at the surface the nucleons, they are bonded with few number of nucleons, whereas the nucleons which are present inside the volume, they are bounded by a large number of nucleons. So this binding energy BV, the volume binding energy, it must be reduced by an amount which is proportional to the surface area of the nucleus. So this surface binding energy, it will be proportional to the surface area of the nucleus, because the more the surface area of the nucleus, more will be the number of nucleons that are present on the surface. So the binding energy, this will get reduced by a larger amount. So this volume binding energy, it is an overestimated term. This is an overestimated term. So some amount of term or some amount of quantity must be reduced from the right hand side, and that is the surface binding energy. This surface binding energy, it reduces the binding energy of the nucleus. So the binding energy BV, it is reduced by an amount proportional to the surface area of the nucleus. Now if the total binding energy, is simply proportional to volume, like in this case we saw that the binding energy is proportional to volume. So if we say that the total binding energy is proportional to volume, this is an overestimated. This overestimates the binding energy of the surface nucleons. So this is an overestimated term, and the surface nucleons must also be taken into account, and therefore something has to be reduced from this particular term. Now the decrease in binding energy, it is proportional to the number of nucleons which are present on the surface, or you can simply say the surface area of the nucleus, and this is called as the surface binding energy. So surface binding energy, it is proportional to the surface area of the nucleus. Now surface area of the nucleus is proportional to capital R square, because we consider the nucleus to be a spherical body. Now the radius of the nucleus, capital R, it is equal to R naught times a power 1 by 3. So we will substitute this formula over here, and we will get this result, that is we will get a power 2 by 3. So we will substitute this formula over here. We will simply get, instead of R square, we will get here capital A power 2 by 3. So the surface binding energy is proportional to capital A power 2 by 3. Now we will remove the proportionality, and we will get a constant. So the surface binding energy Bs, it will be equal to minus of As, this is the constant of proportionality, times capital A power 2 by 3. Now here we have a minus sign. We have already said this surface binding energy, it decreases the total binding energy. So therefore we have a minus sign over here, because it reduces the total binding energy of the nucleus. Now this term, particular surface energy term, it is more significant for the lighter nuclei. For the case of lighter nuclei, let's say we have this nucleus, and we have a nucleus which is heavy nuclei. So let's say this is the heavy nucleus. Now in case of this lighter nuclei, you can see the number of nucleons that are in the volume is very few. Here we have shown that it is just one, and all other nucleons are on the surface of the nucleus. So the number of nucleons that are present in the volume, they are very less as compared to the number of nucleons that are present on the surface. So this surface binding energy term is more significant for the case of lighter nuclei than the heavy nuclei. As you can see, for the case of heavy nuclei, the more number of nucleons will be present in the volume as compared to the number of nucleons on the surface of the nucleus. So this is because greater fraction of nucleons, they lie on the surface as compared to deep in the volume for the case of light nuclei. Now this was the surface binding energy. This term, it takes into account the nucleons that are present on the surface of the nucleus, and hence it reduces the overestimation which is done by the volume binding energy. So therefore we have a negative sign over here. Now the next term to consider is the Coulomb energy. We know in the nucleus we have protons and neutrons. Now the neutrons, they are the neutral particles, the protons, they are positively charged. So when so many number of protons, they are brought together in a very small region of space, that is they are brought together to form a nucleus. So if so many number of protons, that is the positively charged particle, they are brought in such a small space, so there will be Coulombic repulsion, and due to Coulombic repulsion, since this is a repulsive force, will act, therefore the stability of the nucleus will get reduced, or you can say the binding energy will reduce due to the Coulombic repulsion between the protons. So the protons inside the nucleus, they experience mutual electrostatic repulsion, and this results in the decrease in binding energy. So we have to take into account this Coulombic energy. Now this Coulomb energy, this will also be negative sign because it reduces the binding energy of the nucleus. This decrease in binding energy is due to the Coulombic repulsion between the protons, and this is called as Coulomb energy. Now how can we calculate the Coulomb energy of so many protons that are brought together to form a nucleus? Let's say there are Z number of protons inside the nucleus. So Z number of protons, they are brought together from infinity to such a small region of space. So definitely large amount of work has to be done. To take those Z number of protons so close together. So this is the work, Coulomb energy. It is the amount of work that must be done to bring together Z number of protons from infinity to a spherical aggregate, which we call nucleus. So first of all, to calculate the total Coulomb energy, that is total work done to bring Z number of protons together. Let's say first you bring one proton from infinity to a particular point, then you bring up the second proton close to it, then you bring up the third proton close to it, and so on. First of all, we will consider what is the work done to bring two protons close together. That is, two protons, let's say they are brought together from infinity to a distance of small r. So what is the work that must be done to do so? That is equal to the potential energy, which we calculate using Coulomb's law, and this is equal to the multiplication of the charges, which is E square divided by 4 pi epsilon naught times the distance at which they are placed. So this is the amount of work that must be done to bring two protons together. But over here we have to bring Z number of protons together. So first of all, we will calculate how many number of proton-proton pairs are formed. Here we have one proton-proton pair. So if there are Z number of protons, then you can calculate that total proton-proton pairs will be equal to Z into Z minus 1 divided by 2. In this particular case, we have almost, I think, 10 number of protons. Let's say we have 10 number of protons. So this particular proton, it will interact with the rest 9 number of protons. Then this nucleon or proton, it will also interact with the rest of the 9 number of protons. So in this way, when you calculate the total proton-proton pairs, they will be equal to Z into Z minus 1 divided by 2. This divide by 2 fraction over here, it is because we do not want to count every proton-proton pair twice. So when you do Z into Z minus 1, so that will count every proton-proton pair twice. So that's why we divide it by 2. So the total energy that must be supplied to bring all the protons, Z number of protons together into such a small space, it will be equal to the work done to bring a single proton-proton pair times the number of proton-proton pairs. So the Coulomb energy, this will be equal to the number of proton-proton pairs, which is Z into Z minus 1 divided by 2 times the energy which is required to form a single proton-proton bond, that is E square divided by 4 pi epsilon naught times RAV. Here we have RAV instead of small r, because in case of nucleus, the two protons, if you calculate the distance between the two protons, it is varying with every proton-proton pair. Some protons, they are far away from each other, some protons, they are close to each other. So on an average, we find the distance between the two protons, that is equal to RAV. So this is the average value of R over all proton pairs. Now this average value of R, it is proportional to the radius of the nucleus. More the radius of the nucleus, more will be the average value of the distance between two protons, and this radius of the nucleus, it is in turn proportional to capital A power 1 by 3. So this RAV, it will be just proportional to A power 1 by 3. So this Coulomb energy BC, it will be proportional to Z into Z minus 1 divided by A power 1 by 3. So these all constants, they can be consumed in the proportionality. So BC, it will be proportional to Z into Z minus 1 divided by RAV, but RAV is in turn proportional to A power 1 by 3. So we get BC, it is equal to minus AC, this is the constant of proportionality, times Z into Z minus 1 times A power minus 1 by 3, or you can divide this whole expression. Instead of A power minus 1 by 3, you can divide this and write by A power simply 1 by 3. So here also we have negative sign. So this negative sign is also important over here, because this Coulomb energy, now some amount of work has to be done. We have to supply some amount of energy. So therefore the binding energy is getting reduced, because binding energy is the energy which is released from the nucleus, and due to this Coulombic repulsion, we have to supply some amount of energy so that the protons, they can stay together. So therefore in case of Coulomb energy, we have a negative sign. So the total binding energy till now, it is equal to BV plus BS plus BC. So BV, it is equal to plus AV times capital A, BS is equal to minus of AS into A power 2 by 3, BC, it is equal to minus of AC Z into Z minus 1 times A power minus 1 by 3. So this is the total binding energy. Now when the binding energy, it is plotted in a graph versus capital A. So here we have drawn binding energy per nucleon. This is the total binding energy, this is the total volume binding energy, this is the total surface binding energy, this is total Coulomb energy. So when on the vertical axis we have binding energy per nucleon, which is taken in terms of mega electron volt, and on the horizontal axis we draw mass number, that is capital A. So first of all we will plot binding energy, volume binding energy per nucleon. Now we know the binding energy, volume binding energy is equal to AV times capital A, BV is equal to AV times capital A. So volume binding energy per nucleon, that is BV divided by capital A, will be simply equal to AV into capital A divided by capital A. So capital A and capital A will get cancelled. So simply BV divided by capital A, it will be equal to AV, which is constant. So when you draw the volume binding energy per nucleon in this graph, you get a straight horizontal line which is parallel to the axis of mass number. Then we draw the surface binding energy per nucleon. You divide this term, divided by capital A, and then if you plot the surface binding energy per nucleon versus the mass number, then the graph, now over here we have origin and these are the negative values. Over here we have negative values because the surface and the Coulomb energies, they take negative values. So the nature of the graph of BS, surface binding energy per nucleon, it takes this curve, and then if you draw the Coulomb binding energy per nucleon, you divide this whole term by capital A, and when its variation is checked with respect to capital A, so we get this particular black curve. Now when all these binding energies per nucleon, they are added up to each other, we get a resultant graph, we get a resultant curve which is shown by this curve. This is the resultant binding energy per nucleon, and you can clearly see that this is very similar to the binding energy per nucleon graph that we had drawn in case of stable nuclei lecture. So in that case we had over here peaks. We had peaks over here, but here we have a smooth curve. In case of the semi-empirical mass formula, the binding energy which is derived, the variation of that binding energy per nucleon with respect to the mass number, it is a smooth curve. So therefore we say that the semi-empirical, or we can say the liquid drop model, it gives us a simple explanation of the binding energy. So it is a simple explanation, there is not much complications over here. So binding energy per nucleon, it is equal to, we divide whole expression by capital A and we get these three terms. So till now we have done the binding energy. We have obtained three terms of binding energy, and these three terms are taken considering the nucleus to be a liquid rock. Now next is the asymmetry energy. The binding energy of the nucleus is influenced by the asymmetry energy. Now what is the asymmetry energy? In the first case we have drawn a nucleus which has total number of nucleons are 12, that is total number of protons and neutrons are equal to 12, and in second case also the total number of nucleons are equal to 12. But in first case the number of neutrons is equal to number of protons, whereas in second case number of neutrons, they are greater as compared to the number of protons. Now the horizontal lines drawn over here, these are the nuclear energy levels. These are not exactly up to the scale. So let's say this is the energy E level, this is 2E energy level, this is 3E energy level, 4E energy level. So this is just an assumption. This is not up to the scale. So this is just to make you understand what is asymmetry energy. Now in this particular nucleus also, this will be E level, this will be 2E level, this will be 3E level. Now when you calculate the energy of first nucleus and also you calculate the energy of second nucleus. Now how do you calculate the energy of the nucleus? Now this particular nucleon, the neutron, it has E amount of energy because it is staying at E level. So this has E energy, this also has E energy, this also has E energy, and this proton also has E energy. So total energy in the first level is 4E. Total energy is 4E. Then the second energy level is 2E, and you calculate in the similar way. This proton, it has 2E energy, this proton has 2E energy, this has 2E energy, this also has 2E energy, and same is the case in the third energy level. So when you add up all the energies of all the nucleons, so you get the total energy of the whole nucleus. So when you calculate it, you will get that energy of this particular nucleus in which there is symmetry, of the arrangement of the neutrons and protons. This energy of the nucleus is less as compared to the nucleus in which there is asymmetry in the arrangement of the nucleons, that is the neutron number is greater as compared to that of proton number. So therefore the nucleus, the heavier nuclei, we know in case of heavier nuclei, neutron number, it is significantly greater than that of the proton number. In case of heavier nuclei, we have more number of neutrons, and hence there will be more difference in neutron number and proton number for the case of heavier nuclei. So this difference will be more, and hence this will give rise to asymmetry energy. So the energy of the nucleus, this second nucleus, it will be greater as compared to this nucleus, and if energy of the system is nucleus, it goes to lesser stability, and if there is lesser stability of this nucleus, then there will be less binding energy. So this particular expression of binding energy, we have to add up some other terms other than this volume, surface and Coulomb energies. We have to add up some other terms, and first is the asymmetry energy, and second we will do is the pairing energy. Now it has been observed that in case of lighter nuclei, number of protons, they are approximately equal to that of number of neutrons, but in case of heavier nuclei, the number of neutrons, they are greater as compared to the number of protons. Now this asymmetry in the number of protons and neutron number, it decreases the stability of the nucleus. This asymmetry in this difference in the number of protons and neutrons, it decreases the stability of the nucleus, and hence it decreases the binding energy, because we know more the binding energy, that is more the energy is released from the nucleus, then lesser will be the energy of the nucleus itself. So lesser the energy means more is the stability. So if binding energy is less, the stability will be less. If binding energy is more, the stability will be more. Now the asymmetry binding energy, it is proportional to the difference in the number of protons and neutrons, and this proportionality, you have to just remember that this is proportional to the square of the difference of protons and neutrons divided by the total number of nucleons. So this you have to remember that this is proportional to square of the difference of neutron and proton number divided by capital A, the total number of nucleons. So when you remove the proportionality, you get a constant which is represented by AA, and we also write minus sign because this is the difference in the binding. This difference in the number of neutrons and protons, it results to decrease in the stability, that is the binding energy decreases. Therefore we have minus sign over here. So in this case we can substitute, instead of capital N you can substitute A minus Z, and you get this final result of symmetry energy. The next term that contributes to the binding energy is the pairing energy. So in case of nucleus, if all the nucleons they are paired with each other, as it is shown over here in the first nuclei, all the protons are paired and all the neutrons are paired. So when all the nucleons they are paired to each other, so that kind of nuclei is called as even nuclei, that is we have even number of protons and even number of neutrons, and they all are paired to each other. So that is called as even nuclei. Now the second case over here is shown odd nuclei, in which one proton and one neutron they are left unpaired. And in case of odd even nuclei, or you can say even odd nuclei, we have either proton unpaired or we have neutron unpaired. So in case of odd we have both proton and neutron as unpaired particles inside the nucleus. Now in this particular nuclei, all the nucleons are paired, so this will be very stable. This will be more stable than in case of odd even or even odd nuclei. One nucleon is unpaired, so then in case of stability, this will have intermediate stability. The last one is the odd nuclei, in which both the proton and the neutron they are unpaired, hence it will be least stable. The stability of odd even, it will lie between even and odd nuclei. Now it is seen that of all the stable nuclides, those which have even protons and even number of neutrons, they are most stable and they are most abundant. The case of odd nuclides, they are least abundant and they are least stable of all the nuclei. Then is the case of even odd or odd even nuclei, they have intermediate degrees of stability. So the binding energy of the nuclei for the case of even nuclei, that is in which Z and N they are all paired, and Z and N they are all paired for the case of even nuclei. So the binding energy of even nucleides, it is more as compared to the nucleides in which proton and neutron they are unpaired, that is odd nuclei. So obviously if the even nuclei they are most stable and the odd nuclei they are least stable, so obviously even nuclei will have more binding energy and as compared to that of odd nuclei. So therefore we add a pairing term over here. In case of even all the protons and neutrons are paired. In case of odd there are one proton and one neutron that are left unpaired. So therefore we come up with the pairing energy which contributes to the binding energy. Now this pairing energy, it is represented by Bp for the case of odd even or even odd, which has intermediate stability between even and odd nuclei. So for these nuclei we consider the pairing energy to be equal to 0. So this is just the reference that is given for the case of odd even and even odd nuclei. The pairing energy, it is equal to 0. Now for the case of even nuclei, even they are more stable as compared to odd even and also as compared to odd nuclei, hence their binding energy, pairing binding energy, it will be more. So the pairing binding energy for the case of even, you have to remember this particular expression, it is equal to AP, which is the constant, divided by capital A power 3/4, and here is a plus sign because this is for the case of even, and for even the binding energy is more. So this will add up the binding energy for the case of even nuclei, and for the case of odd nuclei, the binding energy, pairing energy, this is equal to minus of Ap divided by A power 3 by 4. So this reduces the binding energy because odd they are least stable, and hence we write over here negative sign. For even we have positive sign, and for case of odd even or even odd nuclei we consider the pairing energy to be equal to 0. Now the total binding energy it can be written as Av into capital A. This is the volume binding energy, this is the surface binding energy, this is the Coulomb energy, this is asymmetry energy, and at last we write the pairing energy. Now the pairing energy it can be plus minus according to the number of protons and neutrons. So we have plus minus, either it can be 0, which is for the case of odd even or even odd, and it can have value Ap over A power 3 by 4, and we have a plus minus sign. For the case of even nuclei, this will carry plus sign, and because this for even the binding energy is more, so therefore it adds up to the binding energy. And for the case of odd we take the negative sign, because in case of odd the binding energy get reduced. So this is the expression of the binding energy. Now we will insert this expression in the mass of the nucleus. Now mass of the nucleus, it was written as Z times mass of proton plus A minus Z times mass of neutron minus B by C square. Now instead of B we will write this whole expression. So minus 1 by C square will remain as it is, and all the terms of the binding energy will be written from this equation. So the values AB, AS, AC, AA and AP, they have particular values, and these values they are deduced experimentally, they are found experimentally. So these values they come out to be equal to, the AB is approximately 15.7, AS is approximately 17.8, AC is approximately 0.71, then the asymmetry constant, this is 23.7, then AP it is approximately 33, and these are in the units of mega electron volt. Since in the expression of binding energy, we have binding energy is equal to Av times capital A. If you look at the first expression, we have, this is the constant, and the binding energy it is represented in terms of mega electron volt. So if this is the constant, so the constant of proportionality will take the units of binding energy. Similarly, in the case of surface energy, this is a constant term, so it will not have any dimension. So the AS constant, it will take the dimensions of binding energy. Similar is the case for AC, AA and AP. So these are the values of the constants in various binding energy terms, and these are calculated experimentally. So this is called as the semi-empirical mass formula. This whole formula it is called as semi-empirical mass formula. Now why it is called as semi-empirical? Now the various terms we have come up with these all terms using their theoretical portion, that is using the theory of liquid drop model, and then using the theory of asymmetry and the pairing energy terms. So these are the terms that we come up using the theory, whereas the constants they are calculated using experiments. So experimentally the values of these constants are formed. So therefore it is a mixture of theoretical portion also as well as the experimental results. So therefore it is called as semi-empirical mass formula. So in the next lecture we will cover up with what were the failures of the liquid drop model, and then we will start with the shell model.